We at Trump's Secret Service detail that works for the Biden administration consider the security of today's rally to be a great success.
That's right. Let's not forget that only one president was shot today.
And he only got shot once.
And it was in the ear, and he has 2 of those.
Mr. President, yesterday you shocked all of us and will never recover from that shock. You said nothing about international relations while we are living in a world defined by shifting global balance of forces.
Plus, he lived.
And we neutralized the would-be assassin in under 60 minutes from the first sighting. That's pretty good.
That's fantastic, especially when you consider that that is less time than your average episode of 60 minutes.
And then the worst president in the history of our country took over. And look what happened to our country.
Came, we saw, he died.
So here it is. If the deep state, aka the secret government, wanted Donald Trump dead, he would be dead.
But what happened last week when they took a shot at my hero? And they tried to kill the next president of the United States. Enough was enough, and I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again.
I'm Sam Tucker from the internet. Holy crap, that's not meant to happen. Well, that's okay, I'm sure this blue screen isn't affecting the whole planet. Oh, it is. Wow.
Blindspot 119. Donald Trump dodges death. The US Gaza pier is shut down. Viktor Orban seems to be the only European who wants peace, while Windows crashes the planet, NATO is in Asia, and South Africa's clueless GNU political animal is foreign policyless. Let's see what happens in this week.
Их называли русичи нарицательно. Они же славились честью, силой разума. А ты потомок их, и прошу внимательно послушай сказ такой, ведь недаром сказано. Да будет поступь твоя слышна издали. От мала до велика легенду сложат. И те легенды оживут в тебе. Быть может, они воспламенят сердца тобою, будут переизданы.
It is quite astonishing the amount of things that can happen in the span of 7 days on planet Earth. And that is why we want to kick off today with but one of the conclusions we are about to draw further down in this blind spot, which is, if peace was a kind of animal, it would most certainly have been included on the world's most critically endangered species list by now. That is now if European or Western logic is anything to go by.
Да будет слово твое век острее рвущей плети. И слово то громадно будет справедливее всякого. Да будет твой кулак поддержкой слова знаково. Да будет так отныне в течение тысячелетий. Да будет враг твой побежденный и усмиренный вечно. Да будет сын твой продолжением тебя зеркально. Будь в мире сам собой, но готов коней заранее. Ведь волки часто надевают шкуру овечью.
One of the reasons we start off with the conclusion that if peace was a species of animal on planet Earth, it would most certainly have been on the most endangered watch list by now, is because of the story that's been unfolding around Viktor Orban of Hungary, who in the first weeks of July went out of his way, in certain instances cloaked in great secrecy, to visit Zelensky in Kiev, to visit Putin in Moscow, to visit Xi Jinping in China, to fly all the way across the Atlantic to visit former President Donald Trump and have a discussion with him, all centered on the question of peace and resolving the conflict in the Ukraine. Now, what is very interesting about this is how this was received in Brussels, hometown of the European Union, that then, in response to this, did not only criticize Orban for going on left field mission not sanctioned by the EU, but now also acting against Hungary inside the European Union context, even going so far as some people arguing that they must remove the voting rights of Hungary in certain platforms in the EU.
Wake up, Dad! It's World War III! This is going to test! Yeah! Are you sure this is okay, Mom? We'll let him out in the morning.
The pressure on Hungary is mounting as Prime Minister Viktor Orban intensifies his efforts to what he claims is a mission to bring peace to Europe. Orban has embarked on a series of high-profile visits to global leaders, aiming to position himself as a prominent peace advocate, a move that has drawn significant criticism within the European Union. In recent weeks, Orban has traveled to various capitals, including Kyiv, Moscow, Beijing, and Washington, meeting with a range of international figures. This diplomatic offensive has fueled accusations that Orban is attempting to become the de facto voice of the EU.
Да будет кровь твоя кипеть при холодном разуме, да будет разум твой воины останавливать словом. А коль войны не избежать, то будь всегда готовым стать сталью выкованной данными фразами. Да будет сердце твое биться, возвещая заблудшим, что сила зиждется лишь от любви без ненависти. Любовь и правда будут за руку тебя вести, ведь за любовь во имя ее как созидают, так и рушат. Да будет честь твоя столпом возвещать на округу, что русский муж это не пьянь скусоватая натура, что русский муж есть разум, сила, честь, культура. Вы подсобите в этом всем, подсобите, други. Да будет дружи твой соратником во всех начинаниях, вплоть до трясины, где не выбраться своей силой. Да будет женщина твоя хранить очаг, быть делом, пускай мой станет для тебя неким заданием.
Despite lacking official authorization from the Union's institutions. In the latest, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has voiced support for Hungary, attributing the EU's growing resistance to Orban's peace advocacy.
I wish to recall once again what I stated during the Trump administration. Despite the very serious sanctions, there was still dialogue underway, and this is useful in any case. If you read yesterday, perhaps you heard the Foreign Minister of Hungary, Peter Szijjártó, spoke, and a great deal of his statement was dedicated to the way virtually all the rest of the European Union is beginning to engage in acts of sabotage and boycotting the events of the Hungarian chairmanship because Viktor Orban traveled to Russia and China and because he is advocating for peace.
So while Viktor Orban is being ostracized by the EU for being the only European leader with the balls to reach out and actually do diplomacy of talking to leaders ostensibly in conflict with each other, well, so be it. But we'll get back to that story in a moment relating to Orban and Trump. But let's quickly go to the so-called Trump assassination attempt, which of course made not just world headlines, but underlines the deep systemic and political divisions in the United States of America. But what's interesting about this is, of course, the multitude of perspectives and points of view that emerged on how could the Secret Service allow a person in video footage seen by members of the public and pointed out and investigated by police climbing on a ladder, seeing this person on a roof, not acting against him, and then waiting until shots are fired for snipers then to shoot the shooter that shot Donald Trump's ear. A very convoluted, very complicated story. But let's just quickly look at two or so points of view on this matter.
And then the worst president in the history of our country took over. And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people. And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to read and see something that says, what happened.
So I've been watching a lot of YouTubers that are no longer on YouTube. They were truthers, guys like me and others. And it's amazing how they're all just scratching their heads. They cannot figure out how the Secret Service allowed this to happen to Donald Trump. How could they allow all this time to pass? A cop even climbed the ladder and looked at the shooter before he shot and did nothing because it's a stage. It's all an act. It's not real. None of it's real. This is all a catalyst for civil war. And at least one other YouTuber actually gets it.
Here's the major point that I need to make in this video that everyone seems to be missing. And this is incredibly important, so please don't let anything distract you. So here it is. If the deep state, aka the secret government, wanted Donald Trump dead, he would be dead. Period. Let me say that again. If the deep state, also known as the secret government, wanted Donald Trump dead, he would be dead. Do you really think that the powers that ought not be, who have been manipulating U.S. politics since the Kennedy assassination, are going to allow this reality TV star to come along and disrupt their system of control? Of course not, folks. He's in this race and in this position because the powers that ought not be have allowed that to happen. Divide and conquer is the name of the game, and he is their perfect guy to get that job done. After being shot, he literally said, "Fight, fight, fight." Civil war is what they want, folks. And civil war is what they're going to get.
Now, following on the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, Viktor Orban from Hungary made a statement about his visit to Trump and expressed the wish that thankfully Trump was not killed in the assassination attempt, and he still sees Trump as a bringer of peace. Well, we have to see about that, but hope springs eternal, apparently. And in this context, what is important about this statement is that not only is Orban still seeing Trump as a potential solution, but then the Kremlin responded to this in not very excited terms, saying, well, we'll wait and see, because from a Moscow perspective, you will have to wait and see until October, November of this year to see whether Donald Trump will be re-elected and installed back into the White House, maybe realizing the dreams of some people that him and his Vice President J.D. Vance may put a lid on the Ukraine conflict. Who knows?
Úgy jó állapotban van, jelentem, harcra kész, ez látszott talán, ahogyan túlélte a merényletet. Hála a Jóistennek, hogy nem engedte, hogy megöljék. Ez azt jelenti, remélem, hogy a Jóistennek tervei vannak az elnökkel, és mi más lehetne a Jóisten terve egy ilyen háborús időben, mint az, hogy valaki hozzon már békét, és ő a béke elnöke volt.
Hungry, strong country, run by a very powerful, tough leader, tough guy. Press doesn't like him because he's tough. And he came out recently, they were asking him at an interview, the whole world is exploding, what's happening, what's going on? Viktor Orban, Prime Minister of Hungary, very tough man. He said, I don't want people coming into my country and blowing up our shopping centers and killing people. But they said to him, tell us what's going wrong, what's happening, what is it? He said, there's only one way you're going to solve it. You got to bring President Trump back to the United States because he kept everybody at bay.
Now, in another Blindspot story, in early March, President Joe Biden announced that the U.S. will be building a special pier to get humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip besieged by and genocided by Israel. But in the last week, it's been announced that this pier will be permanently dismantled because of inclement weather or choppy seas in the Mediterranean that makes it very difficult to maintain this temporary pier. It cost the US about $320 million, and in one of the reports it says that it's only been in operation for about 20 days. In this time, the time that it has been in operation, this pier, it delivered 8,500 tons of aid to Gaza. The aid equivalent of somewhere between 300 and 425 trucks full of food. That is less food aid than the territory used to receive in a single day. So clearly, another Biden administration huge success. This Gaza Pier operation, $320 million later, and much human sweat and anticipation, it's not working, and it will be permanently dismantled. And now people are still speculating about whether Donald Trump will be bringing peace to the Ukraine. But we must remember that Donald Trump is the person that brought not just the Abraham Accords, very questionable, but also is the person that announced that, or tried the U.S. embassy to be moved to Jerusalem, contested territory, then effectively de facto recognizing Israeli sovereignty over occupied territories. So some may think Trump will be the person that will put a damper on the Ukraine conflict. Gaza, Palestine, Israel. So while world leaders face attempted assassinations, Viktor Orban tries to broker some form of peace as the last standing European leader trying to maintain diplomatic channels and conversation. The South African GNU political animal had its opening of parliament speech take place this week. Now, listening to the whole affair and then proceeding to read the whole speech, we even did a word search in the speech, and we found that we could not but notice that South Africa seems to be an isolated island floating in hyperspace. So alas, for anyone searching for a clue or trying to find an ember of evidence regarding the manner in which this GNU political animal is to engage with the global environment, the search is fruitless. So a word search of foreign policy, there's only one result. There's no BRICS. It mentions the world as a word, but there is no foreign policy angle to it. There's no world order. There's no international relations, conflict zero. So what happens to South Africa and the stance it took on Gaza, or the position it occupies in BRICS, etc.? There's no foreign policy. So for once, Blindspot, we agree with the economic freedom fighters, Julius Malema, leader in parliament, standing up and making the following comments on...
Mr. President, yesterday you shocked all of us and will never recover from that shock. You said nothing about international relations while we are living in a world defined by shifting global balance of forces. The West, under the guidance and protection of the United States of America, is agitating for a world war, which will be defined by recolonization of the African continent and the global South. And you never said anything about that. There is an ongoing aggressive war by apartheid Israel over Palestine, and you never said anything about that because your coalition partners are all fanatics of a Zionist apartheid Israel. Shame on you that you said nothing about the genocide committed right in front of us because you chose glory over the dying children and women of Palestine because you are scared to offend your coalition partners.
Well, bother. Okay, so you may have heard recently that the internet kinda broke today. And not because of any butts or bullets this time, but because of a piece of software that's running on millions of computers and servers, which is now crashing systems and causing Windows machines all around the world to blue screen, which is affecting banks.
What do you mean the bank is out of money?
TV stations.
It's not right on a teleprompter. I don't know what that is. I've never seen that. I can't read it. There's no words on it.
And flights are being cancelled and delayed. Geez, I hope the planes themselves don't actually run on Windows. I mean, I don't want Copilot to be the actual Copilot. Oh dear. So...
Их называли русичи нарицательно. Они же славились честью, силой разума. А ты потомок их, и прошу внимательно послушай сказ такой, ведь недаром сказано. Да будет поступь твоя слышна издали. От мала до велика легенду сложат, и те легенды оживут в тебе. Быть может, они воспламенят сердца тобою, будут переизданы. Да будет слово твое век острее рвущей плети, и слово то громадно будет справедливее всякого. Да будет твой кулак поддержкой слова знаково. Да будет так отныне в течение тысячелетий. Да будет враг твой побежденный и усмиренно вечно. Да будет сын твой продолжением тебя зеркально. Будь в мире сам собой, но готов коней заранее. Ведь волки часто надевают шкуру овечью. Раны затянутся скоро, как поджигая порох, глаза горят снова. Ты пришел в этот мир неспроста. Мы друг друга видим сдалека, нас 1 из 100. Раны затянутся скоро, как поджигая порох, глаза горят снова. Ты пришел в этот мир неспроста. Мы друг друга видим сдалека, нас 1 из 100. Да будет кровь твоя кипеть при холодном разуме. Да будет разум твой воина останавливать словом. А коль войны не избежать, то будь всегда готовым стать сталью выкованной данными фразами. Да будет сердце твое биться, возвещая заблудшим, что сила зиждется лишь от любви без ненависти. Любовь и правда будут за руку тебя вести. Ведь за любовь во имя ее как созидают, так и рушат. Да будет честь твоя столпом возвещать на округу, что русский муж это не пьянь с трусоватой натурой, что русский муж есть разум, сила, честь, культура. Вы подсобите в этом всем, подсобите, други. Да будет дружить твой соратником во всех начинаниях, вплоть до трясины, где не выбраться своей силой. Да будет женщина твоя хранить очаг, быть делом. Пускай мой станет для тебя неким заданием. Вот так намеренно, риторикой славянской, стилистики забытой, что раньше было нормой. Я написал для вас стихи и очень постарался, чтоб вспомнили вы предков и дальше помнили. Раны затянутся скоро, как поджигая порох, глаза горят снова. Ты пришел в этот мир неспроста. Мы друг друга видим сдалека, нас 1 из 100. Раны затянутся скоро, как поджигая порох, глаза горят снова. Ты пришел в этот мир неспроста. Мы друг друга видим сдалека, нас 1 из 100.
Trumpomania, run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again.